here with last segment for a show, and I have Lance here again.
Ta-da!
Ta-da!
I'm here. How are you? Thank you for having me back.
Yes, and Lance has plans he would like to share with everyone.
I do have some plans. Well, as you know, we've been talking about the Homeless Living Initiative in the Philippines. It's getting closer and closer. It's almost July. More things are falling into place. We have some new people that are involved on the project.
I would like to meet them.
I bet you would. So one of the things we're looking at now is throughout the country, not just in Manila, but different places, also perhaps maybe stuff with an orphanage. But it's becoming more clear that we're working with children. So one of the biggest things about these communities, because we were doing a little bit of digging, and human trafficking obviously is a huge thing in this city too. Most people are unaware of those numbers. They've been kind of downplaying them a bit because of tourism. This actually happens in a lot of different places where they downplay the actual problem, so it kind of affects it. I mean, that was one of the things that was going on in Hawaii. They were downplaying the disaster because they didn't want to scare tourists away. I mean, that's kind of selfish, don't you think? You have a volcano that hasn't stopped erupting. It's still going. Oh, it's still going. That's creating an issue. But, in a place like, let's say, with the Philippines, there's issues. A lot of times the government, and I can't speak for the current one, but they tend to kind of push the stuff under the carpet. I can tell you about this city. The numbers are played down. Homelessness and human trafficking. Why? Because if you start hearing that there's a huge problem with human trafficking of children, you're less likely to come here. You're starting to question, well, what's happening, where are these kids coming from? The legalization of vice, sin in this city has kind of, that's where it's going. So you have a lot of people, where people always think that they choose that life of, stripping or brothel. That's not the case. A lot of times what happens is that's how people are getting pushed into it.
I see. So it is not the choice now. It's just being pushed into it.
Yes, and this is big another...
Where is the love there? Where is the love there now, Lance?
The love has to come from the community to start getting involved. See, that's the thing, is that when you recognize there's the problem, then we can do something. But you have to ask yourself, well, why wouldn't people know the problem's so big? Well, they're being kept distracted. Pretty lights, sports teams, stuff like this, and you no longer see what's going on. I mean, think about this. You watch a news story, and you see Puerto Rico, for instance, has a huge storm, right? Kills a lot of people, destroys the housing. You stop hearing about the story. So my question is this: why mentally do you think everything's okay? Funny how that works, isn't it?
Yes.
That's distraction. So what ends up happening is we'll hear something, our attention spans have become so short that when we see something else, we immediately
discount the other one.
You're misdirected. So anytime that you hear of a story, they'll be like, human trafficking's awful. Go Golden Knights. And then everyone's back into something else. That's how it works. Because again, you see how that little shift happens?
Yes.
And so people have to stay focused and be aware of distractions of what they're being shown.
So everyone, love has to be prominent.
Yes, has to be first.
Love
unconditional.
Has to be unconditional, and we must take care of ourselves there. Communities should come together and help and bring all these issues to the surface so we can do something about it. Right?
Well, that's the good point, is that we have to work together.
Yes.
We've got to be involved, and oftentimes, it was funny, I was having a conversation, a person was doing these amazing things to help people, but he kept on getting taken advantage of, and he was questioning, well, maybe I shouldn't help anymore. And I go, see, that's what we're taught, is that if someone wrongs you, cut them off. But that's not love. Love is unconditional, which is, what Jesus did. You're at your worst, I'm going to die for you. And when you understand that, you're like, it's your intent, not a person's response.
That's right.
If you're looking to do something because you want something back, that's not love.
That's not love. That's just...
That's a conditional relationship.
Conditional, and that is not going to end up good.
Well,
so if you love, you must love unconditionally and just do it. That's how I am these days. I just do good things to people without expecting anything, because that's how it's supposed to be. And besides, I have to live what I preach, right? Love is everywhere.
We are supposed to.
And, love it's foreign to some people because they never experienced it, or they may have some love in their heart, but if it's not reciprocated from the society.
Well, look at relationships. A perfect thing is that when people are dating, there's all this, they're great, and all of a sudden marriage comes. Why does that die? Because they start putting stipulations on each other, saying, now you have to do this. why does that relationship alter, right?
I
There's like a
know.
control mechanism. I was talking to a brilliant pastor today, and he's been married for 20-something years, and he goes, you know what makes it great is I still view my wife like we're dating.
Oh, that's
So it doesn't.
fun.
So there's love. There's love. It's not something where it's like
it's
oh,
always
mar-
fresh.
Yes, but it's
Yeah.
not something where it gets old and there's discomfort, and it's sad because you can see it in people. You can
Right.
see like this disconnect when you and you go,
Uh-huh.
what's happened? People have taken stuff for granted.
Yeah.
Something has changed. So love is a constant. It's like this never-ending water. And so what happens is when you constantly pour that in, if you're giving love to someone and you're not trying to control them, and we even do that in relationships. We look at this other stuff like governments. We're like, they're controlling us. Like, oh, well, what are you doing with your significant other?
Yes. So, you know what? The government is like married to the people, and the government should be taking care of the people, and vice versa, right?
Well,
But
I
then again,
suppose I don't know if it's a marriage. It's
it's a
dysfunctional relationships more like it.
dysfunctional, yes. So we have to be aware of how we are relating to other people, how we are sharing the love, because love is going to be the one that prevails. Love is the number one thing. Love is the highest vibration. If you want to feel good about yourself, you want to feel love unconditionally.
I think we just have to redefine how we've been doing it. You know, if we take a flawed definition or our interpretation of love and we keep on doing the same thing and we're blaming everyone else and we're not looking at
Yes.
ourselves, that's the problem. We have to start saying, well, wait a minute, maybe how I'm looking at something
Yes,
is dysfunctional, and then I can change, and then you can start to help
that's
other
right.
people. You have clarity at that
Because
point.
you cannot change other people, you can change yourself, right?
Yeah.
So, yes, we have to look inward first and then examine ourselves if we are doing the right thing. And then if we are not, then maybe we should change something. And again, caring about other people, caring about the community, that is our main goal in this life, because we are all connected. Whether you like it or not, we are connected.
Yeah.
And we are brothers and sisters. We came from this one family. And people think because we have different colors, we're not the same family, but we are.
I know. Well, people have a hard time. You know, there's a lot of stuff that's been kind of not really told the truth. And so when we look at different things of how we can work together and how we can offer solutions, I mean, think about it. If the one thing that's being propagated is division, you have to wonder, why are they trying to divide so much? Because
Yeah.
when people unify, stuff becomes effective. You can get
Yes.
stuff done. And so they're telling you one thing, but they're promoting something else.
That's right.
And so too often we start pointing fingers at everyone, and you should be pointing one at yourself.
Yeah.
Because we all have to be accountable for stuff that's happened. And once we can become accountable, we become humble. And we can
Right.
say, I was part of the problem, now I can offer a solution. But too
Right.
often we want to blame someone else. And it's like, well, as long as you're blaming someone else.
But look at when you're blaming someone, 3 of your fingers are pointing at yourself.
I know, people forget these things. But I mean, that's how we can make it. You know, the thing is that insanity would be defined as doing the same thing over and over and over
That's
again.
right.
And expecting a different result, not to be confused with practice. And that's the problem, is that we are doing the same thing over and over, and rather than actually looking and self-reflecting, we're just
Right.
too busy blaming someone new.
That's right. We must take responsibility for things. We must take responsibility for ourselves. If something's happening to us, it's up to us to change it. Because nobody else is going to be responsible for myself but myself. And nobody else is going to be blamed for my happiness anymore, because I am responsible for myself. Not like before, I used to blame someone else for me being miserable. But hey, that was my fault for being miserable. Now,
And did that make you happy?
no, it made me more miserable. So now that my eyes are opened, I take responsibility, and now I'm spreading the love. Love is everywhere.
Yeah. We get that joy from the Lord, and I think too often what ends up happening, I don't know what that
Yes.
says, what the joy of the Lord actually does is that it's never ending.
Yes.
And when you're getting from an endless supply, you're no longer looking for a person to complete you. See, too
Yes.
often, not even a person, we're looking at stuff to try to fill that void.
That's right.
But that's not what fills the void. Once we
No.
realize that, we go, that makes sense.
Yes. So everyone, thank you for joining us today, and thank you for listening, and practice love as much as you can, because ever since I started practicing unconditional love, I have this unending joy, like Lance was talking about. Joy that comes from inside, that comes from above. God is love. Love is everywhere. Until next time, mi amores, make it a love-filled kind of day.
God bless.
God bless. Love you all.